I challenge you, Mom. This is you. He's like, oh, my kid only wants to bed because he just sleeps really deep. If we're in true deep sleep, our pituitary gland should be producing ADH, which suppresses or reduces the amount of urine production, and it suppresses the urge.
Welcome to Motherhood, Aligned and Assigned, where we help guide mothers from symptoms to solutions.
We're Dr. Serena and Dr. Veronica Schultz, nervous system specialists helping families discover the missing link in their wellness journey.
Join us as we translate complex health challenges into simple, actionable solutions for you and your children.
Because your family deserves to thrive,
not just survive.
Okay, so me and Dr. Serena were talking about a couple cases we have in our office, and one that just kept coming to mind was bedwetting. And so if you are a parent of a child who, especially if I feel like this is especially for the parents who have like the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds who have either never had wet or dry mornings or who have the occasional bedwetting and they're not really sure why, this episode is for you.
Yeah, let's chat about it. This is one of my first cases of bedwetting that I've had, because I usually have more of like the teenage kids in my office. But surprise to me, and this is not what the expectation I gave Mom, is after his first adjustment, she messaged me and she said, for the first time ever since I can remember, he had a dry night. Yay. That is so exciting. Mm-hmm. So that tells me, and I don't think that followed up. No, that didn't follow up. The next night he did wet the bed. But that gave us a glimpse of like, okay, we're on to something. Because Mom even said, she's like, maybe it was just like placebo or by happenstance. But he's 8, right? Like, what other placebos have they tried? And what other random circumstances have they had the opportunity for? And for the first time in forever, for first dry night. So we're on to something. And as Dr. Veronica and I were talking, there's a strong correlation with kiddos who find themselves wetting the bed and emotional dysregulation or anxiousness in these kiddos. And those are really interestingly correlated with the nervous system. And we're excited to explain that.
Yeah, because I was talking to Dr. Serena, and I would say most of the parents, I have a couple, like 1 or 2 cases in my office where the parent specifically came in like, I would love to work on bedwetting. But most of the cases, it was like that was just a happy improvement that they weren't necessarily expecting, because they were really coming in with this desire to get their kid more emotionally regulated, able to handle more things and just have more capacity. It's always like transitions is like a big thing, like being able to switch from thing to thing, from place to place, and even like handle when things don't go to plan, and not have this giant meltdown. And so those kiddos, I would say, anywhere from 3 to 8 years old, were coming in with these big, really, really big emotions. And then after about, for us, it did not happen that fast. It's usually about month 2 or 3 under your care plan, that it's like, oh my gosh, they're not wetting the bed anymore. And I even had it to where I got to kind of compare with one family where the son came in who was a bedwetter at like 4 or 5. And after care, he stopped wetting the bed. But then his brother started care at 2 or 3. And his potty training, he's never actually, like once he was potty trained, he never wet the bed. And she was like, that's really cool. So we kind of got to see like what happens in that potty training, bedwetting situation when you have care before versus after. And so I would say it is something that absolutely is beneficial for bedwetting, but maybe that parent that's like, I didn't even think about this being an option to help my kid with this specific problem.
Yeah. I think my first experience with realizing how connected bedwetting was with emotional well-being was with my daughter. And so we noticed every time a babysitter would put her to bed, she would wet the bed. And it got to the point where I was like, okay, well, we're going to have to get home in time to put her to bed so she doesn't have this experience. Because for her, it's also very emotionally distressing. In combination with her eczema, which is also worse when she's emotionally stressed.
Which is also a gut thing.
Which is also, brain-body, like brain-organ connection thing. Kind of. With her, we have another theory. Like, there's that, but like we have another theory with her. We can talk about it another time. Definitely emotional, like nervous system connected. I'm not doubting that. But when we put her down to bed, even on the nights the babysitter watched her, most of the time she was fine. But it would also, it's just so disruptive because the pee also burns her open sores on her eczema. And so it's just like this whole thing where you have to like take a bath and reset and lotion and change the sheets. Like, I don't know how parents do this every night. It's exhausting. And Duke we potty trained him in less than a week when he was 19 months old. He did wet the bed a couple times, like maybe a handful of times. But it was like he woke up in the morning, he's like, oh, I peed. And like it wasn't a whole thing.
Yeah.
It's a,
It's funny.
yeah. And then even through his like really stressful hospital stay, the nurses were like, this is incredible. He's never had an accident.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really interesting to think about.
Yeah, they were also kind of annoyed at us that he insisted on using the potty with like all of his cords because he's like, I have to pee. And they're like, can he just go in a diaper? And he's like, where's the potty? It's like
Good for
just
him.
get the man a toilet. Like, come on.
Yeah. It's very least.
Yeah. He's also mad that he had to use the little toilet and couldn't use the big potty. He's like, I want to use the big potty.
He sounds like an adult.
Yeah, he's actually
That's
couldn't talk, so he's like, the big potty.
Sweet boy.
I know. Say sorry, but you don't have long enough cords for that.
Yeah.
But, anyways, super strong correlation with emotions, anxiousness, and bedwetting, which is interesting. Should we just dive into the science behind that?
Yeah, do it.
Okay. First, let's talk about the scans that really got me there and like clinical evidence of like bedwetting, nervous system. Because scans I've taken in my office for these kids are very similar to the scans Dr. Veronica has taken in the office. Excellent clinical research.
Small sample size.
Sample size of 5. Gold standard. Anyway, if we get the results, we get the results. So,
right.
So when I scan these kiddos, I'm just going to go for the one I have. There is exhaustion up at C1, C2, which is very important to me because that's where the vagus nerve threads through. And our vagus nerve is our rest digest nerve. So that's what's telling the body to put on the brakes, slow down. When you're sleeping, increasing digestion, suppressing urination, sleep hormones would also suppress ADH, which is the hormone that tells our kidneys how much they should be operating and like filling the bladder or not filling the bladder. Right. And so all of this is getting processed by our pituitary gland. So our pituitary gland is kind of like, it's a big checkpoint for our vagus nerve too. Like our vagus nerve and the pituitary gland are communicating a lot. Like, are we in the gas pedal? And do we hit go with adrenaline, aldosterone, those kinds of things? Or are we on the brake pedal? And should the pituitary gland produce oxytocin and digestive hormones and all these things to help the rest digest cycles?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
We've kind of talked about this in like previous episodes where we talked about like HPA and HPG. Well, that P
those
and
axes.
then those axes is pituitary.
Yeah. So we see that a checkpoint or like a test point for how well that might be on is exhausted. There's a correlation with birth trauma. So that's how that started, right? Really stressful birth created physical stress at C1, C2, creating interference with vagus nerve. And that's the story on Dr. Veronica's cases too, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I was telling Dr. Serena, like, most of these kiddos will come in for behavior first, which we would see, tired adrenals, tired vagus nerve, overstimulated basically everywhere else.
Yeah.
And so with that calming of the nervous system and activation of those more exhausted states, we would see behavior and things like that improve, but then we'd also see things like bedwetting and stuff improve as well, and immune function and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Constipation, those kinds of things.
Right. Yeah.
And then the other part of his scan on thermography was in the sacrum, which is our other parasympathetic brake pedal area, was also exhausted. So I said, we have that. Mm-hmm. And then on a separate scan, I saw where those roadblocks were that would be creating those exhausted points above and below. So that was his story. And in chatting with Dr. Veronica, it sounds very similar to what you see on his scans. So that's what makes us think gas versus brake pedal, And the way that your nervous system is expressing that stress is that brain-gut connection, gut being also, like, so HPG, hypothalamus pituitary gonads, which is like, just think about all of your organs, like your digestive hormones, your sex hormones, your bladder is part of that digestive hormone, right? Your kidneys are really the factor here, like filling your bladder, right? And then it's exhibiting, if you're in this protective state in fight or flight, your brain is accessing more of a protective areas, and you can't as easily tap into your cortex, where your emotional regulation centers are, and your centers for processing the world and knowing that it's safe, right? So that's where a lot of these kids have that anxiousness and emotional dysregulation.
I always like to tell parents, it's like, if you were running from your life in the forest from a bear, you're not going to be like, I'm so hungry right now. Like, I could really use the bathroom. Like, you're just thinking about the thing that's going to bring you the quickest safety, right? How high can I climb? Where can I jump to? It's like, that is essentially what your child is, or yourself is experiencing at all times. And you're just trying to figure out. And so the brain is going to adapt accordingly to that, right? Where it's like, instead of sending all these signals everywhere else, well, if the brain knows every single day when I wake up, I'm worried about this specific thing, well, I'm going to send more resources to be able to support that thought. And so that's why care is so helpful, is we're really truly breaking the pattern that your child has experienced its whole life to sustain, the direction that child was going. I know, like, we talked about running in the forest from a bear, but like, also it could just be, the home environment. It could be, siblings. It could be growing, right? Like milestones and all that good stuff, right? Like it doesn't have to be necessarily bad stress. It can also just be the stress of being a human, right?
Yeah.
And the brain is just hyper fixated on safety, which is like lessening the communication to all of those other restorative pathways that it could be
dampening,
dampening. That's a good word.
Yeah, because that brings up a good point, because I've had moms say, like, well, he's just a deep sleeper, so is he just wetting the bed because he's not waking up when he has to pee? I'll come back to that. It's genetic. His dad also did this, and his grandpa also did this. That was an interesting one. Right. So this comes back down to what I always say, is like, genetically speaking, our body is going to be primed to, like, what type of red flag are we going to wave when we're stressed? Right? That's like how genetics load the gun. Like, I had eczema, my mom had eczema, my daughter has eczema. I don't express eczema when my nervous system is well regulated and I'm not emotionally stressed, right? When there's not, so it's when we have a load, like, that's too much of emotional, physical, or chemical stress. Because Dr. Veronica, emotional stress is super common, right? It's like, is there a lot of angst at home? Like a babysitter putting her to bed instead of me, or parents not having a great relationship. It can be common, right? Like, uncertainty could be a big thing. Is there a big growth spurt going on, like a physical stressor, or a physical stress birth trauma that just followed them? And then Dr. Veronica has also seen chemical stress in her office, like being sick or having some kind of immune hit, right? Emotional, physical, chemical, your brain doesn't know the difference. That's all stress.
Yeah.
And so that loads the body. If their bucket's already 3/4 full with stress that's held up in their body, and then you add emotional, physical, or chemical, it overfills their bucket. How do they wave the red flag? For these kiddos, it's they wet the bed. Yeah. For my kiddos, it's eczema and running the bed in the past. Right. And for other kiddos, it's tantrums. For some kiddos, yeah.
Isaiah's just raging right now. Like, what do you want from me?
An adjustment.
But he's like, don't touch me.
Yeah.
That's the stage he's in.
Yeah.
I don't want adjusted. That's what he tells me.
My kids right now are like running and jumping on the table.
Really?
Yeah.
They
like,
used to do that until like a couple months ago, and now they're like, ow.
Yeah.
I'm barely touching you. I digress.
Anyways, I've been there too.
We all have
yeah. You do like, Mom, my tummy hurts. Can I have an adjustment?
Aww,
I know. It's so sweet.
Cute.
Yeah.
I love it. I told my kids I'm not adjusting them no more. I was like, I'm gonna fire you guys.
Go to my other doctor.
Yeah, seriously.
Anyways, that's the correlation we see. Oh, so let me address the genetics thing. Let me address the deep sleeper thing, because I hear this a lot, actually, with bedwetting. It's like, oh, they're just a really deep sleeper. I challenge you, Mom, if this is you. It's like, oh, my kid only wants to bed because he just sleeps really deep. If we're in true deep sleep, our pituitary gland should be producing ADH, which suppresses or reduces the amount of urine production, and it suppresses the urge. There's a hormone that will be suppressive, like the urge to urinate too. That's why when you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh, like for me, it's like a few minutes. Like, oh, now I need to use the restroom now that like cortisol is bumped up a little bit. These other things, like my body's waking up, right? And it's time to like do awake business. If your child is truly in deep sleep, those hormones should be produced well, and or those urges should wake them up. Mm-hmm. But if they're truly in a deep sleep and restful sleep, those hormones should be at work suppressing the need to urinate. Mm-hmm. So the question is, why isn't that happening? And is there a disconnect in brain body going on at the pituitary level, which would be a gas versus brake, which would be nervous system, which is where chiropractic comes in.
So if you have any questions, you can always DM us on Instagram. I'm pretty sure our handles are in the show notes. You can always send us an email or a message. You can find us on our website or yeah, gonna go from there. But the number one thing that you can do if your child is struggling with bedwetting is get them scanned. You can schedule an appointment with either Dr. Serena in Boise, Idaho, or me in Ankeny, or you can go to PX Docs and find a doc near you that is going to have that equipment and show you what it looks like to take you on this journey. Because Dr. Serena talked about, there's the patient that had, one adjustment and he had improvements. That's great. But usually bedwetting, because there's so much going on, like we just talked about, it's not just bedwetting, right? Because there's other pathways they're working on. I would say it usually takes about 3 to 4 to 5 months, depending on how, the current stress load that the stress load that your child is coming in with, the stressor that you're currently on, and things like that. So everyone's different. That's why we do customized care. But just know that every single patient I've had walk through this office has had an improvement in that. It's just a matter of the time that you need to take to get there.
And that was one night out of the 4 that I've known him now, right? So I told Mom, I'm not expecting, and Mom told me actually, she said, I'm not expecting this to stick around 1 because healing isn't linear.
Right.
But it's a peek into we're onto something.
Right.
And what's possible. Yeah. Yay. Oh, praise God. Dear Lord, thank you for these incredible and innate systems you have given us to wave red flags when something's going on. And thank you for this chiropractic profession that we can remove interference and restore healing so our bodies can operate the way that you've designed them. Please guide people who need healing to the places where they can find that. In your name I pray. Amen.
Thank you for joining us on Motherhood, Aligned and Assigned.
We hope today's episode helped you connect the dots in your family's health journey.
Remember, this is where nervous system health meets motherhood wisdom.
Until next time, we're Dr. Veronica Schultz
and Dr. Serena Kaufman, supporting you as you nurture your family's well-being.
Because when you're aligned, everyone thrives.